Hello. Welcome to day 3 of Seen, Heard, and Paid. I have absolutely loved everything that has been happening in this group, the things you all are posting. All of it is just amazing. There's already been so much growth in the way that you all are creating your content and how you're showing up online, because most of you are tagging me in the things that you're posting. You're sharing them with me. I had the most beautiful message come through from one of the members last night, who's just getting started, and she really tapped in to this next level of courage. Hello. Next into her next level, into this next level of courage, because she's just starting her coaching business and did one of those content prompts. And I don't usually coach in the DMs, but she messaged me and she was like, can you just give me a little bit of feedback? Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And she shared the most beautiful, introduction post to coaching. And it was absolutely perfect. Like, it was so perfect. And I say that because I want you all to trust what's coming through for you. I want you all to trust what's coming through for you in the connection component, in the content, in the conversation training that we're going to have today. You're going to get these intuitive hits to create it in a certain way or do it in a certain way. And I want you to trust that. Intuition is your greatest strategy in your business. So if it's telling you I could try this, or I might be able to do it this way, or this feels more supportive of how I do things, trust that and lean into it, right? Also trust when your intuition is telling you I'm holding back, because you're going to feel it. You're going to know if you're like, I'm not really leaning into this. There's resistance here. What is that resistance telling me? What is it showing me? And this is a big opportunity for you when you're experiencing resistance, because resistance is there for a reason. It's giving us information. It's giving us feedback. It's asking us to grow. So today we're going to talk about conversations, how to have conversations with strangers on the internet. So you might experience some resistance in today's training. You might be like, I don't know how to talk to people on the internet. I don't know how to have a conversation. Are they going to think I'm weird? Are they going to think I'm creepy? Are they going to think I'm a weirdo? And I'm going to tell you what I teach you today is going to be the most soul-aligned, heart-centered approach to networking or outreach, or however you want to call it, whatever business terms, whatever you want, however you want to say that. I simply just call it a connection. You're making a connection with people online. And if you want to make money as a coach, you are going to have to start. I don't even want to use the word networking because it's not a word I normally use, but you're going to have to start talking to people. You're going to have to start talking to the people in your audience, maybe even collaborating with other coaches, whatever feels good for you. This is the thing for me that I'm even moving through right now, is the collaboration component, because I'm doing a lot of healing, sister wound healing, over the past couple, maybe 7 or 8 months, because I have this huge resistance to collaboration. And I've never known what that was from. I had an idea, but then I was working with a healer that I work with, and we've been exploring that more, because a big part of my human design is that I'm meant to collaborate with other people. A huge part of my growth comes from community, because I'm a generator 4-6, if any of you know what that means. And so a huge part comes from being able to collaborate and connect with my community. That's where most of my growth is going to happen, in partnerships and connection. So I've been trying to heal that on my own. Conversations were never a hard thing for me, because I have this approach that I'm going to show you today that feels really good and easy. But capitalize on what feels easiest for you and start there, and then start pushing into those edges and leaning into those edges to say, where do I need to expand? I saw Emma say in the comments, this is my next step, I'm ready. That she knows intuitively this is the next thing that she has to do, because she's gotten her content game on point. She's in the mini mind. She's done private with me. We've done all the work around this, but her resistance is in this area. That's why she's saying that. And some of you might have the same resistance. So I want you to take today to really be like, I am no longer going to hold on to this fear of making connections with people online. I get to do it in a way that's not creepy or weird. And I don't have to cold DM anybody or do anything like that. Maybe some of us have been network marketers in the past. This theme has been coming up for like 3 weeks now, where I have people in my world who were once network marketers and now they're coaches, and they're like, I don't want to do it like that. And I'm like, you don't have to do it like that. Like, it's okay. I'm going to show you a different way. So I'm super excited to show you this approach. We're going to talk about why it's important today. I'm going to show you how to do it. And then we're going to talk about your challenge for today. And I'm going to challenge you to move into that resistance and start some conversations with people. So we'll get into that in just a moment. Let me see what y'all are saying. I haven't wanted someone to collaborate with, a really busy extrovert, manifesting that. Yes, just literally put it in our group. Put it in our group. Say who wants to collaborate, especially after today's training. A lot of people are watching the replays, so we don't see everybody here right now, but there's like 70 something people signed up for this. So there's people who haven't even got into the group yet. You know, so like, and this happens, you guys will see as you start putting on more challenges and have more people sign up and like master classes and stuff like that. Like a lot of people, it takes time for them to actually like even check their email to join the group after they sign up. Like they forgot that they even signed up. So you're going to see a lot more people coming in, and this group is going to be here for like another week and a half or something. I haven't decided if I'm going to do 7 or 10 days after the last day. We'll see, but it's going to be open. So put it in there, put your feelers out. And you can also put it in the Rich and Resilient Collective, my free Facebook group, where I have like 700 people in there or something. I've started more this week. I've had another biz coach who said if we didn't like it, not to do it. Hey, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything that I tell you to do. I am not God. There have been many times in my business where coaches have told me you could do this and it would work for you, and I've chosen not to. And then later on, I was like, shit, maybe I should have tried that. So you all can take it with the grain of salt and do what you need to do. I will tell you this, if you don't want to be someone who has to spend a lot of time making connections, then get really fucking good at content. Join Content to Cash Flow. That's all I'm going to say there. If you want to get really fucking good at making content and having people reaching out to you, or if you get really good at content, then people will reach out to you, then come join me in Content to Cash Flow, because I get it. Once I started having, 20 plus clients on my roster, I couldn't do as much connection building. But in the beginning, when I didn't have that many clients and I had tons of time and I was fucking hungry as shit to grow my business, I made connections. I was like, this is going to work for me. You know what I mean? And then when I didn't have as much time, I started being like, okay, well, how do I get more people into my inbox? Oh, content. That's what I need to focus on now. And so if you're someone who desires to go deeper into that with me, then come join Content to Cash Flow. And I'm actually going to just kind of talk about that for a second here. Let me pull up my presentation because I know it's in one of the slides. So while we're here, let's chat about it for a second. Has everyone been able to access everything in the group just while I'm getting started? Because sometimes we have problems with links in my world. And I just added another page while I was trying to hit present. So I just want to make sure you guys can get to everything. Okay, so today is day 3. We're talking about conversations. We're going to talk about why they're important, how to talk to strangers on the internet, how to stay out of the friend zone, and then your challenge. So the Content to Cash Flow, just really quick, if you're someone who's like, okay, I know that the connection piece is part of it, I'm willing to do it, but I also want to get really good at content. So more people are reaching out to me, sliding in my inbox, asking how to work with me, knowing how to create content that starts conversations, then Content to Cash Flow is for you. You guys have access to the 333 pricing until 6 p.m. tonight. If you're in Empowered Society, you already have access to Content to Cash Flow. So cheers to you. If you want to join, Francine's like, yes. I know Janet's like, hell yes too. So if you want to join Empowered Society, that's access to all my courses for the next 6 or 12 months. There is a 6-month option, as well as all paid master classes. So we have Content to Cash Flow, Money Map 23, where I'm going to show you how to set up your business for 2023. I forgot what year it was for a second. Show you how to set up your business for 2023 to bring in as much cash as possible. Then we're going to have a branding program in the beginning of the year, which I'm super excited about. That will be my first time running that. Very, very excited about that program. Then we'll go into Sell with Soul and the offer program. So those are some of the ones that are coming up in the future. So if you want to join Content to Cash Flow, that is there until 6 p.m. and then the price goes up to $555. All right, biz audits are still available. You guys already know what those are. We've talked about them. There's a link in the group. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. of this. So why is having conversations with people on the internet important? Really quick, why do you guys think having conversations with people on the internet is important? Tell me why you think that might be important for your business. Go ahead and pop that in the chat. I'd love to hear what you all think about that. Now, I'm going to tell you why I know it's important. People need to be invited. They need to be invited. How many, I'm just going to put this in context that we all understand. Who here has a friend group? Who here has a friend group that does things, right? Who loves it when you get invited? When you're like, hey, your friend calls you and it's like, we're all going to brunch and you get invited. How does it feel when you don't get invited? It feels kind of shitty. It feels like FOMO. It feels like, why didn't they invite me? People love to be invited to something because sometimes they don't know how to ask to join. Okay. Many times they don't know how to ask to join, especially if there is not already an open line of communication. You don't know how many people I've talked to who I started a conversation with just by simply doing some of the things I'm going to show you today. That was just not like a cold DM or like, hey, you want to join my program conversation. It was just simply like a touch point. And they were like, oh my God, I didn't even know I could message you. Like, I didn't even know that you were in your inbox. I didn't it was like they didn't give themselves permission to even DM me because they didn't think they could. Because I'm telling you right now, a lot of people who are watching you in the space, especially the way that many of you are presenting yourself now that you've been doing this for a little while and you know how to show up as an expert online, people are looking at you and they see you as somebody who's like a big fucking deal. I want you all to anchor that in right now. Like people are, yes, Emma, people are looking at you. I can see y'all's faces. People are looking at you like you're a big deal and you don't even realize it. They're like, oh my God, like she knows what she's talking about. Like she's really out here like doing this thing. She's like a professional. And they might not even realize that they can reach out to you, especially if we're not inviting them to reach out to us. Or especially if we're giving off an energy of like, we're not accessible. And sometimes we do that unconsciously. Sometimes we do that unconsciously that like, we're not accessible. Don't DM us. Like we're very busy people. I did that for a period of time when I did get very busy and I didn't realize I was doing that, but I was kind of like giving that message out in my inbox, like in my stories. I say my inbox, in my stories, like that I was just a very busy person. Very, very busy. And I have all these clients and all these things to do. And it was like, I almost made it feel like, why would someone want to work with me if I'm so fucking busy? Like, what time do I have for them? I'm not attainable. And I didn't realize I was doing that until I saw it one day and somebody reflected it back to me. And so I want you to question, like, are you opening space to receive people? Are you letting people know that you are open for business? Like, are you letting people know you're open for business? Because if you're not, like, we need to let them know. And also, don't be scared to invite people into your space or invite people to work with you. Just like I invited you all to Content to Cash Flow, or I invited you to whatever program you're in with me, or I invited you to this. Like, you somehow felt invited to it. It was either because of the piece of content that I created, or you were in my inbox, like hearting it. And I was like, well, why don't you just come? And then you were like, okay, I'm coming. You know how many people are like, this program looks so great. And I'm like, well, why don't you just sign up? And then they just sign up. Like it literally can be as easy as we let it be. And sometimes we overcomplicate it because we're so scared of looking like needy or pushy or forceful. Or my biggest pet peeve, salesy. Like, you're a fucking business, y'all. Like, I love you guys so much, but like, you are legit a business. So yeah, you're going to sell. Like, don't be scared to be somebody who's selling and inviting people to work with you. That doesn't mean we lose the humanity and the compassion and the kindness and the love component that all of us have. And we wouldn't be able to lose anyway, because it's who we are, but don't be scared to invite. Now, the other reason why this is important, relationships and conversations create clients. We talked about in the first training, why do people buy? Why do people even want to be part of your Instagram? Why do people even want to like consume your content? And why do people buy from you? Because they feel like there's some connection there and there's a relationship. They feel like there's a relationship with you. And the more that we can nurture that relationship and grow that relationship to where they trust us, then people will buy from us. Now, there's ways to do this in our content that work very, very, very well. But also, while we're learning to get really good at that, we need to be building that relationship outside of our main feed and in our inbox, or even just in comments on people's posts or on their stories, which we'll talk about in a minute. But like being able to create actual relationships with people is what leads to clients paying us. Here's the big thing: staying with us. Many times what you're going to see is that like, oh shit, like I'm a really good coach and people want to keep staying in my world and consuming all the programs or re-signing for private or whatever, because they truly enjoy the relationship that they have with you and the way that you coach them. And that starts from the moment they find you. It is our job to create that relationship with people before they ever buy from us. And when we can do that properly through our content and our conversations, then people end up paying us to be in our world in some capacity wherever they can come in, but then they end up staying with us. And that's really the goal here, because the longer term, the better our client retention rate, the less we have to be constantly finding new clients every single month, right? And the longer people stay with us outside of even the money component, which isn't even as important as the fact that when people stay with us, they have greater transformations because you build a deeper relationship. It all comes back to relationships, right? So this is very, very important. That I should have put that as number one. Now, the factual component of this is it takes 7 to 10 touch points for people to trust you and feel comfortable buying from you. Does anybody know what a touch point is? Have you heard this language before? A touch point is just simply where you connect with somebody in some way. So that could be in your inbox, that could be in stories, that could be on their post. But the more you connect with people, the more they begin to trust you and feel comfortable buying from you, because trust is critical. Trust is part of a relationship, right? Just like relationships are critical, trust is critical. And it takes about 7 to 10 times for someone to connect with you before they actually trust you. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that they're going to buy from you at that point, but that's when they'll begin to trust you. And again, if we went into offers, for those of you who did sacred offers with me, like, you know that it takes about 7 to 16 times for someone to see your offer before they buy. So wouldn't we want to be doing both of these things, selling and connecting? It just makes sense. I'm a very much like a energetic person and I believe in manifestation, but I am also a very practical person and I believe in numbers and statistics. So if statistics are telling me it takes 7 to 10 touch points, and this is the common consensus across the board for all data that's been done on marketing and sales, and they're saying it takes 7 to 10 touch points, then yeah, I'm going to listen to that. You know what I mean? And so like, I just really want to kind of like give that to you all, that these aren't just numbers that someone's pulling out of their butt, and they're numbers that you hear across the board from a lot of like business coaches and marketing and sales strategists, because it's true. So you can choose to let your fear hold you back and your self-judgment and whatever it is that tells you, I can't do that, that's weird and that's gross and that's salesy and that's icky. Or you can find a way to make it work for you. It's that simple. So let's talk about how to start conversations. So the best way to start conversations, especially if you want somebody else to initiate the conversation, is to use call to actions in your content that bring people to your inbox. So are you inviting people to your inbox? Remember, people want to be invited. Are you inviting people to your inbox? Are you giving them a real reason to come to your inbox? I legit tell people, like, if you have questions, message me. If you have an opinion about this, message me. I am constantly telling people the way to connect with me is in my DMs. And the more you do this, the more people will realize, oh, that's how I connect with Francine. That's how I connect with Janet. I go to her inbox. And now you didn't have to do anything except for create a piece of content with a powerful CTA that brings people to your inbox. and be consistent and intentional around how you use those CTAs so that people actually want to come to your inbox. Because telling people to come to your inbox to buy from you is very different than inviting people to your inbox to have a conversation with you or get something for free from you. Maybe you have a freebie. Tell them to message you to get the freebie, right? Most of you, a lot of you joined this program because I used a powerful CTA and a piece of content that said, DM me, paid to join this. And about 10 of you DM me paid before you joined this. Others joined simply from my Instagram stories because I know how to sell in my Instagram stories. Another thing I'm teaching in Content to Cash Flow. We'll talk a little bit about it here, but not the selling component. We'll talk about IG stories. But very, very, very important that we are inviting people to our inbox. Right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how often are you inviting people to your inbox? 10 is like, I'm on that shit. I'm doing it every day. 1 is like, I kind of forgot. I should be doing that. Let me know in the chat and I'll come and check that at the end. All right. So using CTAs to invite people to your inbox. Engage with your followers' stories. This is the easiest way to start a conversation with somebody. The easiest way to start a conversation. So before I even go into this, how many of you, let me take a sip of water for this one. How many of you are dissatisfied with the amount of people that are viewing or engaging with your stories? Is anybody dissatisfied with the amount of people that are viewing your stories or engaging with your stories? Maybe you're like telling them, reply to this story or message me from this story or engage with this poll or this post or whatever. Or you're constantly checking who's viewing and you're like, oh, it's always all the fucking same people or whatever, right? Whatever it is, I am telling you right now to check your own behavior with how you engage with other people's stories. Because if you are not looking at other people's stories, replying to their stories, engaging with their polls, engaging with their stickers, then why the fuck would they be doing it with you? Like, honestly, like, I love you all so much. And that's like a very like in your face kind of comment, but I want you to really own that. Like, take radical responsibility. Because first of all, the algorithm, I don't even have to go there with all of you. You already know what I mean when I say that. Like, if you're not engaging with stories, and it's not going to be pushing people to your stories. And then also just the whole like reciprocity thing of it, of like, why would you expect people to do what you're not doing? And the same, and that goes across the board for everything in your business: investing, posting, and engagement on your regular posts, accountability, I don't know, whatever. Even with your clients, like, are you being the client that you desire to have? So when we're thinking about that, we need to look at this in all areas. So again, like, if we want more engagement in our stories, we want more story views, then go view people's stories and engage with their stories. Go find the people that that have followed you recently and go show love in their stories. Go connect with them, start a conversation. The same thing with people who you're following. You know, it does not have to be this like sit back and wait for clients to fall into your lap type energy. Sit back and wait for the algorithm to make it work for you. Go take radical responsibility and find people to talk to, find people to support, find people to engage with, not from the energy of like, I need to get a client, but just simply from the energy of like, this is how I want to show up in the world. Like, I want to show up from a supportive and loving and connection place. Like, do you desire to build community with your brand? I know I do. Well, are you actually attempting to build community? You know, outside of just an Instagram post and an Instagram story every day? Like, are you actually building relationships and connections with people? So think about that. Use prompts in your stories that start combos. So now we're going to have more people viewing our stories. We're engaging. We have the law of reciprocity going. So like, what prompts can you put in your stories to start combos? This is something that I teach inside of Coach Prep School, where I talk about like the exact, like there's a strategy that you can use to like put a question up and then certain slides that go after to create literally like potential clients sliding into your inbox, like giving you information about why they want to join your program. And then it's literally just from there, it's just moving those people forward and making the invitation. And so you can use prompts like that, and also just like silly prompts. So like you can ask like a question, and you can literally ask them what they're grateful for today. Like inside of Content to Cash Flow, we're going to talk about like how to set up your stories in a way that's going to boost engagement and get more people in there. But today, I want you to just think about what is something that I could say inside of my stories that would prompt that people would actually want to respond to. So there's two parts to this. Is like, what do I actually care about learning about my audience? And like, what might they actually respond to? Because your energy behind it is important too. So think about prompts that you can use in your stories that start conversations with people. Now, this last one is send warm DMs. So a warm DM is much different than a cold DM. A warm DM is just simply like, hey, thanks for the follow. That could be a warm DM. Or it could be like, hey, really appreciated your comment on my post. I have this free training for you, or I have another post like it. Do you want me to send you the link? It could be things like that. That's a warm DM. Someone's already engaged with you, or they followed you in some way, or they've engaged with your stories and you send them a warm DM, or they're new to your following and you just simply welcome them to your world. And then later on, you might find yourself engaging with their story, and now the conversation gets started in a really organic way. Okay. So building relationships, starting conversations, this is how we start that process. So now, here's some things that we need to be on the lookout for, some do's and don'ts. So when we're having conversations with people, especially if we're sending a warm DM and like welcoming them to our audience and asking them how they're doing and trying to move that conversation forward, we need to be a human. How many of you have gotten message from people that is like, this has to be a bot? Like this feels so ingenuine. And sometimes it really is a bot, but other times it's just people like following some script and sending you a DM. Or you start having a conversation with them and you can tell it's just like a really like they're trying to sound professional or something, right? Like I know I was such an asshole the other day. I don't know if I was an asshole. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. But somebody messaged me and they were like, what did they say? They messaged me one day and I was just like, and I don't usually respond. I'm actually going to pull it up. They messaged me and they were saying something along the lines of like, hey, love your page, happy to be a part of the community. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, awesome. You know, they were just doing like a welcome message, no shame in the game. And then where is she? Oh my God. And then they messaged me again the next day. Here it is. And they messaged me again the next day. And they were like, hey, here's how it went. Hey, what's good? I like your bio. Haha, looks sick. Super happy to network with you. And I was like, same to you, exclamation point, right? So this is where the second point here in emotional intelligence comes in. Emotional intelligence, right? You can kind of tell I kind of abruptly ended that conversation, right? And now she was like the next day, no, 2 days later. So you can tell she's following a template that a coach gave her. I know it for sure. Like I've seen this done before. So it's like every 2 days you follow up. So good morning, Katie. I hope you're as blessed as you can be today. And I said, thank you. And she said, I just finished going through your profile. I already knew what time it was next. So this is like a don't. I just finished going through your profile and I love what you're doing. However, my curiosity is piqued. Now, my business coaching brain already knows that my I help statement isn't necessarily what most coaches would suggest, because I'm experimenting with shit right now because I'm in a place in my business where I don't need clients. Like I can play around with certain things to find out what works for me in this season. And I already know where she's going with this because I have something in there that's not super clear. It's emotional capacity in my bio. And so that's not like a specific problem. It doesn't necessarily state the problem specifically. So I already know where she's going. So she's like, and here it comes. Here it comes the next thing. I see in your bio that you're a business coach and you help coaches with their emotional capacity. Do you have a sec to tell me more about what you do and what you offer to your clientele? And I was like, I was like, I can't, like, I literally can't with this right now, but let me see what happens if I say this. I said, is that because you're interested in being a client or because you'd like to tell me about your services? And like from there, like, cause you already know, how many of you have gotten message like that and you already know what time it is. You already know they're about to pitch you on something. And then she went on, but look at what happened. So I was kind. And I was like, what about you? Tell me what you do. And then I didn't respond to the conversation. And as you can see, I just kept getting messages. That's a don't. That's a don't. That's an absolute don't. And that, my friends, is why most of us are like, I don't know how to have conversations on the internet. I don't want to send people DMs because that's how I'm going to look to people. But that's not true because we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it in a much different way because we're going to be humans about it. We're going to genuinely ask questions that care about the people. We're not going to try to offer unsolicited advice, right? Unsolicited advice is criticism. Have you guys ever heard that before? Unsolicited advice is criticism. And you have permission, if anybody ever DMs you trying to critique some shit you're doing, to position themselves as an expert so that you buy from them, so they make you feel like you're doing something wrong so that you buy from them, you have permission to tell that person to kindly fuck off, and you know exactly what they're doing. And that's not how we're going to do things. We're going to actually care about the people. We're going to ask about them. And we will follow up, you know what I mean? But we're not going to follow up in the way of like, did you want to hear more about my services? Do you want to know more about my services? Like, what are you doing? And send like 18 messages back to back if they haven't responded. But it could just be as simple as like hearting a story a couple days later when you come across their stories. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be these traditional follow-ups. It's just staying connected. I cannot tell you how many people have gotten on sales calls with me over the past 3 years and not been able to buy the program at that time, not been able to afford it, or it wasn't the right fit for them at that time. And I didn't ghost them afterward. I wasn't angry that they didn't buy for me. I didn't decide that I didn't have time for them anymore because I genuinely care about the people that are following me and consuming my content. And I kept engaging with their posts. And I just simply, like, every now and then when I'd come across a story or a post they put up that I liked, I would comment, or I would reply to the story, or I would like it or whatever. And then so many of them have come back to me and bought something from me and been like, you're so much different than the other coaches. I've been on sales calls that didn't go through, and then I just never hear from them again or never see them again. Or like, I really enjoyed that you stayed connected with me. That's what happens when we put people first and money second. When we put our own needs and our own scarcity and our own desire to get, which there's nothing wrong with that. We have a strong drive for more, and that's okay. But we have to detach the conversations and the connections from that desire, because these are people, human beings on the internet. Just because it's an Instagram feed doesn't mean there's not a human on the other side, right? And so it's very important to act from a place of love and service and connection and compassion. And when we find ourselves getting resentful because maybe we have people in our audience that we've been having conversations with for a long time and are consuming all of our free content and not buying anything, that's a us problem. And we need to check ourselves. Okay. Now, when you're in these conversations, when you do have a conversation that's flowing and it's moving forward, it's really important to be a leader in that conversation, like a compassionate leader in that conversation, and detach. Now, here's what we're not going to do. Exactly what that lady did. And also, we're not going to send long ass messages in the first few touch points. So this is another thing. People will reach out to you, especially when you're creating this fire ass content that's activating them. They'll reach out to you and they'll be like, Katie, how do I work with you? Tell me about your programs. And in that moment, you might feel the urge to tell them everything. You might feel the urge to word vomit all of your programs to them and give them all the things. And I call it, you're pulling your tits out, okay? You're pulling your tits out at that moment, and it's time to put those puppies back in, all right? And ask a follow-up question. Awesome, I'm so excited that you reached out to me. Can you tell me more about what you're looking for and why? That's it. Or, hey, this is my other one that I use because I have so many programs. I'm like, hey, I have tons of programs. Tell me what kind of support you're looking for right now. Genuine curiosity. Genuine curiosity without the urgency. Okay. Because it's like, think about if you're dating and you go on a date with someone, and on the first date, they tell you their entire life story, like at dinner. There's no mystery. There's no like getting to know each other. It's just like they start word vomiting their whole life on you. Have you, this ever happened to you? Where they just start, it's like that was an okay date. It was all right. Like it was nice to hear about this person, but like it just doesn't, I don't think that's somebody I really want to get to know. I don't want to go on a second date. It's the same thing when we're in the DMs. Like if we're in there just like pulling out our tits left and right, like it's not gonna be, the person's gonna be like, that was a lot. Like that was a lot. That was a lot. Like I like them. Like I'm not mad at them, but it's just gonna feel like a lot. It's gonna feel overwhelming. There's too much there. So we need to be very intentional about how we respond to things and not let our own sense of urgency and desire to give all the stuff come through, and be very like regulated in how we respond. Do not pitch them in the first message. Do not pitch them in the second message. Do not pitch them unless they actually are like, you're like asking questions and you tell them that you have this program and they ask to know more. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Don't make it about you. It's about them. Don't personalize if someone says no. And this is, I should have free coaching on here. Do not coach for free in the DMs. And do not be their bestie. You're not there to just be best friends with everybody on the internet. Like you are a business and you are a leader, and there do need to be boundaries around how you show up in the DMs. So key components of how to talk to strangers on the internet: be a human, let go of expectations that everybody that you have a conversation with is supposed to book a call or buy from you within like the first 10 seconds of talking. Do listen, ask, and invite. So listen, active listening, curious questions, intentional questions, and then invite. And we're going to talk about how to do that. So let me actually just come to the chat really quick. Does anybody have any questions about what I have shared so far? I want to see what you guys are saying. Katie, I like your prices. Recently had someone, a business friend, tell me my prices, which are angels numbers, are just cute. It makes them not take me seriously. Is that your person? That was my first response. But I told them my clients will understand and relate to that. It made me question myself, but then seeing your price structure was validated. Yes, girl. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. This is the other thing, is that we, like, back to yesterday, like we have to realize that not everyone is for us. Not everyone is for us. And we need to do things the way that feel right for us and for the people that we want to work with. So many times, like when people say no, or we experience criticism or judgment, my first response is like, well, I guess that wasn't the right person for me anyway. Like, I guess that just wasn't my soulmate client. My soulmate clients, I've literally had people, Amy, I've literally had people buy from me because they were like, we were on a call or in a conversation in the DMs. And then I told them my number and they're like, oh my God, it's a sign. It's an angel number. I'm in. I'm like, I didn't even think about it that way. I literally just priced them because I like that and it makes sense for me. But then like they literally bought because it was an angel number. So like your friend just might not be your soul aligned client, right? Let me see what's here. No worries for being late. I say DM me. Is that the same? Yeah. Yeah. So there's different ways to do the DM call to action, but DM me is just a very simple one. Always the same people in the stories. Yeah. I will line their post, but don't usually make a comment. Yes, that makes sense. Boom, straight in there, nip that in the bud. I have several who write very long messages about all of their health and light, and I was very candid and kind with good job. Yes. Because you're going to have people, especially for those of you who are like healers and you talk about like issues, like if you talk about trauma, if you talk about health issues, if you talk about like mindset stuff, emotional stuff, anything really, because I have people fly in my inbox too, and they just like drop their whole life story on me. And for me, I'm like, the same goes both ways. Like the date metaphor that I used, the same goes both ways. If somebody's messaging me and sending me 5 paragraphs, I'm like, okay, this might not be the right client for me. Like this, I might want to obviously validate and provide and give a response to it, but I don't even know if I would want to have a coaching relationship with that client if that's how they're already moving into the relationship because they're lacking boundaries. So if they're lacking boundaries, are they going to respect my boundaries? Probably not. And I have really good fucking boundaries. And so like, I don't feel like having a bunch of people testing them all the time. Like, I know who's in my world. I know what I want. This is literally why I'm not a therapist anymore, because I get to pick who I work with today. And this is what you guys get to do too. You get to pick who you work with today. And listen, in elevated coaching, for those of you who are in there, you're going to get a checklist of like how to refer someone out to therapy, like a checklist of how to decide if someone needs to go out to therapy and not coaching. And so like, you might even notice it in the DMs and you can be like, hey, I don't think coaching is the right fit for you. You might need to go reach out to a therapist and I can actually like point you in the direction of one, or you can just go to this site and then have a site that you can send people to. All right, so let's get back into it since there's no questions coming up. Let's get back to my little PowerPoint here. Where'd it go? Where's my PowerPoint, you guys? Oh, okay. We got it. Okay. How to stay out of the friend zone. How to stay out of the friend zone in the DMs. So this is going to be, there comes a point in the conversation. This is where emotional intelligence is going to have to kick in, where you're going to have to pivot the conversation. Okay, where you're going to have to pivot the conversation. And remember what I said, be a leader, lead it in the right direction. Okay, because especially when you're building rapport, it's the same thing in a coaching container. Like in the beginning on a conversation, you're going to have to build rapport with the client. Like if someone comes into the first session with me, I'm not just going to be like, okay, tell me all of the struggles you're having in every single emotional block and trust me with everything and give me all the stuff. It's like, no, you're going to have to spend a few moments like breaking the ice, building a rapport, getting each other comfortable, you know, starting to assimilate to them and starting to see like, what is the energy of it? And then at some point you're going to be like, okay, it feels like a good time to pivot the conversation and ask the question that's going to open up the dialogue for today, right? And it's the same thing when you're doing these touch points with people in the DMs. So like you might be messaging someone, let's say you message someone around their stories, they put up, like I'll do what I did today. There was somebody who put up the peppermint mocha Starbucks drink. They were like, it's here. And I was like, shit. Yes. I was like legit excited when I saw it. I was like, girl, I'm about to go get one right now. Right. And that was the message that I sent her. So this is what I meant by being a human. And then she was like, yeah, I'm a total basic bitch when it comes to this. And I was like, yeah, I have totally accepted my basic bitch tendencies as well. And so like in that conversation, that's a very friendly conversation. Now I'm not going to continue that dialogue forever with her. That was just like an icebreaker, like an opener. Now, what's going to happen is the psychology of all of this is she's going to see me posting about things in my stories, and she'll eventually probably resonate with a post or comment on a post or reach out about a program or something from the content that I'm creating. And then that's how the conversation could continue. Or in a few days, I might come across her story again and I might say something to her again. And then there's another touch point, right? And then I might ask a question. So how are things going? Like, how have things been? Because I know this person, particularly, I've been following her for a little bit. I might be like, so how are things going with the new program that you launched? Right? For you, it might be like, so how are things going with your fibro? Like, I've seen you kind of like posting with your kids. It looks like you're feeling better. Are you feeling better? And then that might be the opportunity to be like, no, I'm not fucking feeling better. Like I'm in a lot of pain and I'm forcing myself to go through this. Or like, hey, I saw that you posted a picture that it was a hard day at work, you know? And then they might say, yeah, I had a hard time in the meeting today. I really wanted to share about something and I didn't. That's an opportunity for you to then move the conversation by asking intentional questions that help you discover, is she the right fit for your program? Offer some support and connection and validation, not necessarily coaching, because that's not what we're doing, but just provide some support. So if it were me and she says to me, oh no, the program's not going that well. The program launch isn't going that well. Well, I would say, okay, well, tell me a little bit about what's going on. Like what happened? I'm just literally asking a curious question. That's it. Like, tell me a little bit about what's going on. Oh, well, you know, like I've been putting it up. I've only put it up a couple times. I don't really like feel like I'm selling it as often. I don't feel like my audience is hearing me. I don't know. I just don't, maybe I don't have enough time. I don't know. And I'd be like, okay, so it sounds like you're just kind of confused right now. And you can see this is what I'm doing right here. I'm reflecting back. I'm reflecting back. And you see in this second part, I'm reflecting back the feeling that she's conveying to me with what she's telling me. The same thing you might even do in a coaching container, but I'm not going to start coaching her in a solution focused way. I'm just building a connection. So it sounds like you're really confused right now. Yeah, you're right. I am really confused. I don't really have a plan for this launch. I kind of just am winging it. Okay, so what you're telling me is like you put this program out, but you didn't really have a plan, and now the launch isn't going the way that you want it to go. I paraphrased what she said to me, and now she's going to be like, yeah, you're right. I'll be like, okay, well, what happened? How come you don't have a plan? Now I'm asking another curious question because I'm going to dig deeper into what's going on. Oh, well, I don't have a coach that showed me how to launch. The one way I learned how to launch, I don't like doing it that way. And I don't know. I just feel like I feel kind of deflated. I've launched a few programs this year and nothing's really gone my way. Okay. So I hear you. So right now you've been launching programs. You're not making the money that you want to make. You don't feel like you have a strategy that's supportive to who you are. So how long has this been going on for? So now I summarized and then I asked a follow-up question. And now she's going to tell me, I don't know, it's been like a year. My last coach I had was like 6 months ago. I left that container and then I didn't really have any support afterward. And I just feel kind of lost right now. Okay, I totally hear you. So this is like exactly what I help women with. If you'd like, we could talk a little bit more. We could jump on a call. I have free biz audits. You could jump on a biz audit with me. We can kind of look at where the gaps are right now for you, see what strategies would be more supportive of where you're at, and then see what needs to happen in order for you to start having more people signing up during your launches so you can have your business really thriving on social media. And she might be like, yes or no. And if she says yes, then I will give her 2 times to pick from for a biz audit. And then she'll get on the biz audit with me and we'll have a conversation. We'll have a sales conversation. You see what I did? I led it. I led that conversation. And then I just used simple coaching skills to invite her to a discovery call. Now, typically, I don't really invite to discovery calls anymore. I just immediately invite to the program. I don't go through the discovery call phase as much anymore. I promote my call. Like in this group, I let you guys know that you can hop on the biz audit because there's tremendous value in that. We can look at what's missing for you, where the gap is, what needs to happen. But obviously you need like containers to like have accountability and support to get what you need. And I legit tell that to people on the call. But you know, like it could be as simple as you just invite them to the program if you don't want to do a discovery call or a sales call. I say discovery call and sales call interchangeably because they're kind of used the same, but that's usually the term that most people know. So reflect, paraphrase, summarize, position. Say it with me. Reflect, paraphrase, summarize, position. That is how you move to the invitation. Then you make a confident invitation. Well, listen, it sounds like, so here's what it might sound like if I did my program. So it sounds like you're just struggling with the launching right now. Like you don't really know how to launch programs effectively. So if this is basically one of the things that I help my clients with. If you want, I have a program that's all around launching. It's called Launch Codes. If you want to know more, just let me know. I can send you the link. It will definitely help you with where you're at right now. And then they might say yes or no. And if she says yes, send me the link, then I'll send the link. And then I will tell her after I send the link, let me know what questions you have. So I keep the conversation going. And then once she's like, okay, I don't have any questions, I'm like, okay, well, listen, let me know once you sign up and we'll celebrate. And then that's how it goes from there. You know what I mean? And that's a very like detached, lean back approach to it. So if you like that better, you could do it that way, or you could get people on a call. Highly suggest getting people on a call if you've never done them, just to experience it and learn more about your people. All right. So here's what we're going to do. You all have some action steps for today's challenge. I want you to start 20 new conversations. 20. That means you might have to go through your following list and look at people's stories and start a conversation there. Or put a post up today, invite people to your inbox, see if you can get some stories started there. I got a tickle in my throat. I just got to make it through these last 5 minutes, y'all. I just got to make it through these last 5 minutes. So the 20 new conversations using the skills that I gave you earlier. Then, you can invite people to DM you. And then you're going to follow up with everyone that you have been talking to over the past 60 days. And then after that, if there's anybody that you've been talking to for a while, I want you to offer discovery calls to them. I saw Francine laugh. How many of you feel uncomfortable with that? Let me know. Raise your hand if you feel uncomfortable, if I can see you. Okay, good. Very good. Very good. All right, so you're going to offer some discovery calls to people that you've already been having conversations with. You're going to start new conversations, and you're going to invite people to your DMs through your content and in your stories. And if there's anybody that you need to follow up with that's reached out for links or calls or whatever, or you even did calls with and that you haven't heard back from them, reach out to them. Reach out to them. The one thing I want to share with you all of like how powerful this can be, just so you can kind of feel inspired as we end today's challenge. I went through this thing in 2021, in the beginning of 2021, right? So I had like back to back my highest cash months that I've ever had for like 4 months in a row. And I was like, I don't need to have conversations with people anymore. I don't need to do sales calls. I'm a fucking boss. Look at me, right? And I was like, everything that got me to those high cash months, I was like, I don't need to do that anymore. I'm a fucking superstar now. Okay. Like, do you see, right? Like, and I wasn't necessarily talking like that, but that's what ego was doing. And so I was like, I'm going to cut all the sales calls out, and I'm not going to make connections anymore. I'm just going to post, and people are going to find me, and they're going to pay me thousands and thousands of dollars from the second that they find me. And people did do that, but not at the rate and frequency that they were doing it when I was doing all the things that I'm teaching you guys in this training, and that I still do today. So I cut them out for like 3 months, and my income went down like by $10,000. My income went down by like $10,000. So I went from like 35K to like 20 to 25K. And I was like, okay, like obviously my messaging and my content are on fucking point, but also like I wanted to go up, not down. I wanted to keep moving up. And so what is the problem here? And I had to like do an inventory of like, what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what did I cut out, what's going on? I was like, oh, I cut out fucking sales calls, and I cut out having conversations with my community and like building new relationships. And so what I did was exactly what you see here over a matter of a week. And this last thing is what I did on like at the end of the week, where I offered discovery calls to 5 people who I had been chatting with. And I had never done that before. I had never just straight up been like, yo, I have biz audits. Do you want to get on one with me? Right. And that was like what I did. I was just like, hey, I don't know if you saw, but I've been talking about that my biz audits are back. Do you want to jump on a call with me? Like legit, just straight up. I didn't care. And I did it. And I sent it to way more than 5 people. Because I had a lot of conversations that were going from people messaging me and stuff. And I sent it maybe to like 10 or 12, and 6 people booked calls with me. And 5 of them converted when I got on calls. I was heading to my retreat that I was hosting in Orlando. So I'm like driving up to this retreat, and I have my Reiki practitioner that was coming, who was going to be at the retreat with me. We were driving up together. And I have her putting in people's credit card information, clients that I'm signing, while I'm driving to this retreat. And I made $19,000 in 36 hours. Just from offering calls to people who I had been chatting with for a while, who decided to get on a call with me because they needed to be invited to work with me. They needed to have that connection piece and then be invited to work with me, because all of them already knew what program they wanted to join. They wanted to join Rich, Resilient, and Free or 5K and Beyond Academy, because those are the ones I had been talking about for a while. Or Coach Prep School. I think like 1 person got in Coach Prep School, but everybody else wanted to be in the group program. And I was like, holy shit, did this really just happen? And then that same month was my first 50K month. And like, so I just want to share that with you all of like, I'm not saying like, if you do this, you're going to go have a 20K in 40 hours type situation, but I share that with you because you don't know what's on the table right now. You don't know what you can't see. And until you start putting yourself in these situations to push up against the fear and make invitations for people to work with you, whether it's this way or selling your shit every single day in your stories and online, like you may not be able, you may be doing a disservice. You are doing a disservice to people who actually want to work with you, but just don't know how to take that leap and need your help to get there. Okay. And so I offer that to you to inspire you and to also help you see the possibilities. So does anybody have any questions about today's challenge? Let me know. Let me see what's happening over here. Okay, so there's nothing in the chat, anything new. So let me know if any of you have questions. As we're closing up, if I see something pop in, I'll answer it. So your challenge is exactly what I just gave you. Go do that. If you decide to join Content to Cash Flow, you have 1 hour left to get the 333. We have our training tomorrow at 4. The training on Saturday, the last day, I've decided to do a Q&A on that day. So you'll be able to submit questions. There'll be a question that goes up in a question thread that goes up in the group tomorrow. So you can submit those questions and then I will answer them on the live training that we do on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay. All right, ladies. Go make some connections and start some conversations with strangers. Have fun. All right. I will see you all tomorrow at 4 p.m. Toodaloo.